Hi, today we're going to discuss the Yacht Club again. Um, as I said, for the year that I was with that group, um, we were there at this location one day a month, every month, for that entire year. This particular day is going to be March 19th, 2016. And I had to re-listen to a lot of the audio because I'd like to keep this in as chronological order as I can. And this was the very first day that I got to meet Jacob. And I heard his voice the first time that I had gone through there, but he didn't approach me. And it was also interesting because I got to speak to a couple of different spirits on this day. And according to my video recording or my audio recordings that I had, the group that I was with started in the basement. And there was a guy down there in the spirit world who actually had fun arguing with me that I couldn't hear him, that I didn't know what he was saying, or it's just not true that there wasn't somebody who could hear him. And he argued with me about it. And it's like, it wasn't until the end of the conversation that he realized that I was talking back at him. And he just is like, I'm sitting there like kind of giggling at him. I'm just like, I did just answer your question, right? And he was like, yeah. I said, so if I answered your question, then I heard you, right? And he was just like, oh my. And then he disappeared. So I was just like, okay, prove a guy wrong. He disappears. It's like spirit or human, right? Oh my goodness. So the second part of that day, and these are the stories that are out and beyond the recordings, beyond the proof. The place was just fascinating because the people were fun. The spirits were partiers. They were there to enjoy themselves, except for Jacob. Now the story with Jacob is, it's a long one, and he also inspired me to try to find his history, to find out who he really was. The story that the group was given of him is that he had fallen from the balcony and died because he just went right into the room. But the story that I got was a little different. The lady who was in the thing was clapping like this and wanting to have music by Blue Eyes, which we did bring her that week. And Jacob, she was looking out for him. And there were two other spirits who lived there. One is called the Commander, or Commodore. One of those two. It's like very, very close in the syllables. The Commodore is the one that found him out in the fields and brought him into the building with them because he was just lost. He was just roaming around. And so ever since he brought him in, he had been staying in the yacht club. So I was very curious about him. And that first ghost hunt that I went on, to just be flat out honest, I thought it was boring. And I thought that we should have some stories about the history of the building and the way that, just different things in different time periods that took place in this building. So I asked the founder if she minded if I did some research. And so I did. And there's a lot of really fascinating stories. Those are real fact stories, though, and I'm not going to go into that because my stories are the ones that I've heard and they're personal to me because they're directly from the spirits. I just couldn't prove it. So I did this research and got them stories, and there was larger and larger turnouts for open, like word of mouth. It's like, hey, these are kind of fun. Anyways, this one, March 16th. So I went up and I was talking to Jacob. And I happen to, it's like, I'm a new investigator. I don't know what works and what doesn't work. I'm just playing it by ear and trying to figure me out and, you know, enjoying the fact that I was talking to these spirits. Well, I had pictures on my phone. You know, you can swipe and see the pictures. And I was with a couple of other public people who had tickets and who were doing this, and I'm like just flipping through my phone, and then Jacob would tell me, "Oh, stop!" And it was a picture of candy, and I'm just like, okay. So I stopped on the candy. It was like pictures of marbles. I was just looking through random pictures online, and he liked all of them. So I thought, okay, well, this will be a way that we can communicate. The leader of the group, this guy, he debunked the whole thing and told the people that I was with that it was my cell phone that was causing the K2 to go off when I would answer or ask questions, or if he wanted it to stop, he would make the K2 blink to like the second green or third or to the middle yellow. And you know, by making that, that's when I would know he would want me to stop in the swiping because he wanted to actually see something clearer. But they said that the cell phone signal was activating the K2 meter. So basically, they told the other people in the public hunt that it was just all the scientifically proven fact of the Wi-Fi signal trying to cut a signal causes the K2 to go off. So I tested it, and it does go off, but it doesn't go off in answering questions. So although I could understand their point of view with trying to learn these skills that I have, I was a little hurt too. Because, like I said, there is no scientific proof for what I do. So from that point on, I was very determined to find Jacob so that I could at least have a little bit of proof on that. So we ended that night in well, I should say I ended that night being upset, okay? But there was something super funny that happened that day. Now, do you remember the story of the sailor in the kitchen? Turns out that he decided to moan really loud when two of the investigators were in the kitchen, and freaked those two out so bad. Oh goodness, the lady of the two would not even go back into that kitchen, and we had been in and out of the kitchen all night. So after this incident happened, some of us went into the kitchen to find out if we could get that moan to happen again, and we actually caught it on audio, and it is part of their investigations and their evidence, so I don't touch it, and I don't give their name out because I didn't have permission to do this from anybody. This is a me thing. That's why I don't use names, and I'm very vague on the locations. But there is an audio video, or there is a video out there with this moan on there, and it just so happened the male in that investigators was my husband at the time. So I had a tremendously great time teasing him about that. Um, Anyways, we walk into the kitchen, the founder and I, and her husband. Um, and there is a knife right in the location where I told her that this young sailor was murdered. It was amazing. And I just sat there and I looked at that knife and I'm listening to them talking about the Moan, and they're rewinding their recorders and listening to it over and over again. It was a pretty amazing end of the night that night. And I just went to the sailor and I said, "Thank you." And he just said, "You're welcome." And then he said, he was really glad that I listened to his story, and he was sorry that he had hurt me in the process. He didn't realize that his anger could actually cause me pain when he was pointing out in the 2 locations that he was stabbed. Um, so he did that as a gift to me, and I appreciated it big time. And it was nice for me on a medium perspective, because it verified things for me and actually helped build my confidence up a little bit more, because I was always being ridiculed, I think, I guess is the only word. And so yeah, being able to have that moan and that pain that I went through on that first visit be justified, and in such a great way. It was I only wish I could relive that over again, because it would listening to the recorder was almost like living it over again. So I'm sitting here, got tears coming out my eyes because it was so funny. Oh my gosh, it was so funny. So there are times that there's a lot of ups being a medium, and there's a lot of downs being a medium. Ridicule from other people comes part and parcel. Disbelief, anger, debunking. That was one of the words that I started hating at the end of that first year. But a lot of times it's worth it, because the spirits themselves, the stories that they have, the help that you can give them. So don't be afraid to be a medium if you are one. I hope you enjoyed this story for the month of March in 2016. Until next time.